I kind of figured that after my last couple of videos, which were focused on someone who was a bit of a tosser and clearly had a slightly negative view of Australia, that I should find a video to look at from someone who actually had a decent appreciation of Australia. And of course, I have to admit, when it comes to Melissa McCarthy, I'm a fan. So when I came across a video of her talking about Australia, I couldn't help but want to have a look at what she had to say and to do a reaction to her video talking about the things that she loves about Australia. Now, obviously, as a real famous person, as opposed to the guy in the previous video who thought he was famous and I hadn't heard of him, but obviously for someone like Melissa McCarthy, you don't want to be putting yourself in a negative light. So there is obviously a bit of a PR element here. But I also feel that she is being genuine when she is talking about the things that she loves about Australia. One of the things I found quite interesting and amusing, but I'll tackle that when we get there.
The birds. I think I'm on 15, but I can just keep going. Hello, I'm Melissa McCarthy, and this is my InStyle shoot, and these are 10 things, reasons and things that I love about Australia. Okay, here's what I love. I love an Australian accent with my whole heart. I try to do it, I'm terrible at it, but I love that it's nar with an R on the end. I love that the cows say mer with an R on the end.
Now, she's the second person that I've heard saying that when we say words that end in O, that they have an R sound on the end of them. And I can't hear that. But let's talk linguistics. And this is coming from someone who studied 3 different languages during her undergraduate degree. So, bit of knowledge on it, but that said, as someone with an ear for languages, I've tried so hard to listen and see if I do say an R at the end of words like moo or arvo, and I can't hear it. If anything, I would say it's a W sound. But going back to the linguistic side of it, moo. No, I don't hear it. When we are in those formative years, that's when our pathways, our linguistic pathways are being formed. So the way we hear sounds is basically those pathways are formed in the first 5 years of our life. So we hear sounds the way that our brain has been trained to hear them. After we're about 5, trying to hear different sounds that aren't part of our regular speech become really, really hard, which is why some languages are especially hard to learn, because they have sounds that are different to sounds that we would use in everyday English speech. So I can appreciate that perhaps I just can't hear the R sound in those words. Or maybe it's just the way that Americans comprehend our language, and perhaps to them trying to describe our language, to them it sounds like an R sound. I'm really curious as to know what other people think about this. I still don't hear it. Arvo, moo. I don't get it. But like I said, I'm Australian, so I probably just can't hear it.
I love the tradition of the yeah, no, yeah, which means like, yeah, I'm hearing you. Oh, I don't like that. But yeah, good try. It's so like, it's so comforting instead of just a flat no. Yeah, no, yeah.
Okay, doing it as a triple, yeah, no, yeah. Is that something that's maybe a Northern Australia thing? Because I'm more familiar with the yeah, nah, or nah, yeah, where, the last word is what it actually means. But she's nailed it in terms of saying that the rationale behind it. I hadn't really thought about that before. But, we are a kind of a nice bunch of people here in Australia, and we don't like saying no outright. We don't really like offending people. So I think she's nailed it by saying, well, it's a way of softening it. When you say, yeah, nah, it's better than saying, well, no. So I think she nailed that, and it's something that I hadn't really put a lot of thought into, but it does actually quite sound spot on. But in terms of the yeah, nah, yeah, I don't know, is that just surface speak or something? Or because I know she talks later on about being at Byron Bay, um, which we'll come back to that. But I'm just curious, is that something that people do use in other places?
I love that all the bugs and creatures will kill you.
Okay, as much as I like Melissa McCarthy, she gets a great big mwah mwah for that one. No, the bugs and animals aren't all going to try and kill you. In fact, many of the spiders and snakes and stuff, they're venomous, but they're not going to kill you. Some might. There are some that are more dangerous and more poisonous than others, but a lot of things, like you get a redback bite, it's going to be nasty, but it's probably not going to kill you. And that stereotype that persists, that is believed by so many people from overseas when it's not true. So that's my little rant. That's probably one of the things that just really gets my goat. This concept that everything's going to kill you in Australia.
I love that I've seen a spider the size of my head that's a huntsman. I found it magical.
Now that one surprised me and also amused me. And I have to say, it is so refreshing to hear someone refer to huntsmen as magical. Of course, I think had she been driving a car and had it suddenly drop down from the sun visor, she would understand why, despite being totally safe, it is one of the most hated spiders in Australia. We don't like those suckers because of how damn big they are and how scary they are because of their size, despite them being harmless. But yeah, kudos to her for not buying into the whole drama that so many people that overseas people do buy into when it comes to huntsmen. Yeah, if you can observe them from a distance, then I guess it is pretty cool that they are so damn big. But for those of us who've grown up in a country full of huntsmen, there is always that cringe factor of what if they crawl across the ceiling and land on you? Or what if they drop down from a sun visor when you're driving? Because we know those buggers love doing stuff like that.
I love the people. I find that I chat with everybody, and everybody just like takes the time to actually be a sweet, kind, funny human, and like they talk to you. You talk to people standing in line. You talk to people at a store. I'm a Midwesterner from Illinois, and it goes right to my heart.
When I hear people talk about how friendly Australians are, it makes me feel good about our country. But at the same time, it makes me feel sad. I can't imagine living in a country where you can't be standing at the bus stop and just have a little chat with the person who's waiting there at the same time. Or where you can't make a joke about something at the checkout with the person who's standing behind you. Because That's just what we do here. We are a friendly kind of people. We don't have any of the pretenses that you see in other countries. We call a spade, and we accept people. Okay, there are some people in Australia that are still racist or still discriminate, but overall, I think we're a pretty neat bunch.
I love this country for how it looks. Like, I've fallen in love with, we're in Cooper's Chute, and I love it so much. It's like really taken up a space in my heart.
So for people who, like myself, probably haven't heard of Cooper's Chute, and now you're probably going to tell me, well, everyone knows where Cooper's Chute is. That's where it is there. So it's just kind of southwest of Byron Bay. So I can imagine why she'd love it. It would be beautiful and warm and sunny for much of the year.
I love that it's safe and it's so responsible to all its people, and it's doing so well with COVID. In a crazy pandemic, when you show that you care about, like, Australians care about other Australians, and that just means a lot.
Yeah, this video's a few years old, but it's true. It's that mateship that exists in Australia. And I know there are some people out there that can be a bit selfish, but for the most part, mateship does seem to still exist. And let's hope that it's something that we never lose.
I love that there's weird wild turkeys. I didn't see that one coming.
Now, I will say I've never come across these wild turkeys. We don't seem to have them down in the south. We have weirdo Australian native birds that are almost turkey-ish, but we don't have wild turkeys down here. But I just find it amusing that Americans have a fascination with these wild turkeys. And of course, I guess it makes sense, because for Americans, turkeys are a popular meat in America. So the thought of them just roaming around where you could just grab one and, have your own turkey dinner, I'm guessing that's what is going through the mind of these Americans that comment on the wild turkeys. I guess that's the whole thing behind the fascination. Whereas I'd probably barely even notice them if I was up around Byron Bay area and saw some.
I haven't seen any saltwater crocs. I was hoping they would be as frequently seen as the turkeys.
Okay, did no one tell her that you don't get crocs that far south? Or did she go further south, further north, and was expecting to see crocs? Or is it just that whole American expectations that our whole country is overrun with saltwater crocodiles?
My favorite accent or pronunciation is for razor blades. Razor blades. For razor blades. I thought somebody was saying, like, rise up, lights. And I was like, I don't know what that is. Rise up, lights. And it was like razor blades. And I'm like, oh, I loved it so much. I never want to say, now when I hear like razor blades, I'm like, we suck. I want to say razor blades. Razor blades. That sounds better. That makes me want to shave something.
I honestly just don't have words for that. Now, I'm not saying that I can't appreciate that sometimes when you hear something in another language, it just does have a ring to it that you love hearing. I had a friend from the sort of Yorkshire area of England, and I used to love the way she used to say "Ross Tetties," and I can't do the accent properly. Obviously, I suck at English accents, but I used to love the way she said it. Roast turtles or roast tatties or something. Like I said, I can't imitate it, so I really shouldn't even try. So I understand that side of it. But of all things, razor blades. That's just hilarious.
I think I'm on 15, but I can just keep going. Oh, the birds. I love the crazy birds in Australia. I have a book of them now, and I just sit outside. Ben talks to them, and one of them talks back to Ben all the time. It's the one that goes, he does that, and the bird talks back. So he's fully, like, we think we're talking to the birds now. So I don't know if that means we're crazy or maybe he's just a really good bird caller.
Two thoughts on that. I wonder if she's heard cockatoos, because they're not the most wonderful sounding birds, especially not early of the morning if you've got a whole cacophony of cockatoos screeching flat out and, stripping trees or whatever. But my other comment is this, where she said, we think we're talking to the birds. And I just have this picture in my head of these birds being like, hey, come and check this out. Listen to what these dumb fools are saying. And I'm not saying that this person that she's talking about is a dumb fool. It's just my crazy sense of humour, picturing someone thinking they're talking to the birds and the birds just completely taking the mickey out of them. Because they're Australian birds and that's what we do here in Australia, so why shouldn't the birds do the same?
I love that in Byron Bay no one wears shoes. I love that shoes are optional and no one cares.
Okay, I'm not going to get back into the no shoes debate, but I am going to say that there are people who do wear shoes in Byron Bay. I've been there. But I get what she's saying there, that, it is a kind of laid back area, shoes are optional. And I'd imagine if I was staying somewhere like where she was staying, that chances are, especially when you look at that gorgeous grass, chances are that I wouldn't bother with shoes outside. I might wear thongs, but you look at how well kept and manicured that is. If it's nice and sunny and warm, why bother putting shoes on to go out? But as for going to the shops without shoes or, walking down the main street without shoes, that's just not for me. And when I went to Byron Bay, I don't recall there being a huge number of people that were strolling around without shoes, although that said, I wasn't really paying a huge amount of attention either.
And I don't know, it's just I feel like everything in Australia is turned right side up, even though they say it's backwards. I think the rest of the world might be backwards, and maybe they've got it right here. So thank you, and I love you, Australia. Rise up, lights!
So she wasn't 100% spot on in this video, obviously, but I found it so refreshing to listen to someone who could really appreciate Australia for what it is. The things she pointed out, so many of those things are things that many of us just do love about Australia. And I loved her comment at the end about, us being right side up. That, we seem to have got it right here. And I think we do sometimes forget how blessed we are living in Australia. So I know she'll never actually watch this, but thank you, Melissa McCarthy, for reminding us what an awesome country we live in. The razor blades thing, that's just downright weird, but I suppose I can forgive you for that.